Oh, yeah. Oh. We got full vibes today on the Buck Your Feelings podcast show. Shaking off those demons of 8 straight of 2019 pre-pandemic. Man, what a phenomenal game as the Denver Broncos show up for the uniform game, the alumni game, the Raider week game, 34-18. It wasn't even that close. Our defense is ridiculous. Don Diaz, how are you today? A 6'10" Mexican. Dude, vibes are immaculate. How are you?
Broncos Country! How the frick are we feeling today, man? I am feeling fantastic. I hope you guys are. Let me just tell you guys, I was on the edge of my seat from the very beginning of this game, just for the simple fact, and I tuned in late, mind you, because I was just finishing up my shift at work, and when I tuned in, the Broncos were down 7-0, and I had to go back and look at the highlights because I wasn't exactly sure how that happened. And to be honest with you guys, that and the following drive where the Raiders marched down the field were probably the biggest highlights for the Raiders. So who's ever doing Raiders podcasting right now or going forward this week, I guarantee you those are the only highlights you need to look for. You do not need to look any further. But besides that, guys, this was a fantastic game. I mean, it was great news after all that. I don't know what happened. A lot of people were saying that after the PS2 interception, that's when the whole momentum of the entire game started changing around, and it was for the better. And before I turn it over to you, Jay, the spark that Sean Payton was looking for the last time I saw these two teams going at it, Week 18 last year, it took us time, but we freaking found it. And it was beautiful, and I hope it continues to that it ignites a really, really explosive offensive scheme going forward here in Broncos Country.
Yeah, I was gonna say the first couple drives, I'd say like up until that PS2 interception, when it was 10-0. The Raiders were driving down the field into the red zone. It was about, we all saw it was about to be 17-0. And at that point, like, the vibes couldn't have been worse. The Broncos, at least from my perspective, was, oh crap, like this team doesn't know how to win. That was one thing that we spoke about on pregame, was that, hey, we've won games in adversity, games that we were underdog that we should not have won on the road here. Is this team going to respond in a game situation where we're favored, where we're supposed to win? And it was not looking good. But you know what? Playmakers make plays. And dude, Patrick Surtain II is just one of those talents that I just kind of feel like absolutely changes the trajectory of individual games, of individual teams. And he's everything. He's everything and more that you would want in a leader of your team. And he showed up in the biggest way today with 2 interceptions. We even got a nice little Riley Moss welcome to the NFL moment with his first interception of his career. But we already got some commenters in here. Nice to see Devin Allen Hoffman, and hey, I'm nice to see the Raider fans have come back. They said they would pregame. It was a very good game. Just interesting stuff. It really was. I was trying to find everything. Yeah, Devin Hoffman saying the pick 6 changed everything. All momentum was shifted after that. I never want to see Minshew play another snap. And I don't know about you, dude, but I did not have on my bingo card that we would get the Gene Short man himself benched in this game. That's crazy to me. So very unexpected. And you got to think, if you're a Raiders fan, where do you go from here? Because Aiden O'Donnell is not it either.
And it does not get easier for them with their upcoming matchup next week against the Steelers, who have just as much of a stout defense as Denver does. But I do not envy being the Raiders head coach right now. I think this is a huge setback for them, because now they have a question that really did need Well, actually, let me phrase that. Now you have a question that desperately needs an answer to. And I was reading in the comments before the end of this game that a lot of people were saying if Devontae Adams was in this game, it wouldn't have been like a different result. I don't buy that. Devontae Adams, I'm sorry, I don't buy that whole hamstring injury. I know they probably put on paper to have, a reason, but he's more than likely out the door. I don't see him being a Raider, if anything, past this week. So aside from him being not having the talent on their off-wise, I will give kudos Brock Bowers. I did take him for granted. After that 7-0 lead, I started thinking in my head what a lot of people were going to say because, as we all know, Bo Nix was selected before the Raiders pick Brock Bowers. So if the Raiders would have won this game, then we were already going to hear like, oh, maybe the Broncos should have gotten Brock Bowers. Look what he did. He put up numbers and all this stuff. So I was leaning towards that reality a little bit too early. But thankfully, I pulled myself out of that rut. If you follow me on Twitter, you guys saw me that hopefully my message inspired them to come back and, and get things rolling. But this was a really, really awesome win. I mean, it just signified that the Broncos, not only are they on a 3-game winning streak, guys, but now we have the momentum going forward because next week we have the Chargers coming up. The Chargers were off this week and they're getting a little bit of rest, but it's another division game. So that's a very important matchup. And then the schedule does get a little bit kind of roller coasters up and down as we go during the season.
Sure.
But whatever the Raiders need to do, we can they'll probably have that circle date for round 2 against Denver in Las Vegas. But I'm already confident that the Broncos are going to sweep this team if they keep up playing like that.
Yeah. And you got KB82 coming in saying the game isn't over until Gardner Minshew picks his nose. Good stuff right there. Yeah, I mean, if you're a Raider fan, the quarterback question has got to be on your mind. Really rough stuff on that front. And Devin Hoffman coming back in here saying, can't wait to see Shadur Sanders in silver and black. Lose the rest of them. Don't Rick draft position. Don't even speak that because I do not want to see my boy in black and silver. That will absolutely crush my heart because
mine too.
I want to root for Shadur at the next level. So I'm hoping he goes to an NFC team that I can, mutually root for.
Far away.
See him twice a year. We also got D-Rock in the chat here. Like Colonel Sanders said, I'm too drunk to taste this chicken. And yes, sir, it was a one for the books to be able to keep it on for the drinkage. It's, yeah, man. As D-Rock says, 3-game win streak continues. And we got our boy Raider Man 81 back in the chat. He was in pregame and he did say he would be back. Congrats on the well-earned W. You whooped us today. Yes, we did. Although it got real hairy in the very beginning and literally it just snap of a finger. PS2 made it happen. Absolutely nuts. We also got Joe Brewer coming out here. Raider Man, you are going to have to eat crow for dinner. Just kidding. Sorry, your team gave up. I mean, there was a little bit of give up. I don't know. Just from a play standpoint, I felt like they were a little conservative when the tides did turn. Maybe they were scared of our secondary. And, I think also there's an aspect to the amount of pressure that our front four was giving them was insane. I was very surprised. We're a defense that gives high pressure. We were number 2 in the league before this game in sacks and pressures, but we were getting pressure just with our front four without blitzes. Pretty ridiculous in that, but I don't know, man. What do you have any thoughts just on our defense in a general sense, aside from PS2, aside from those big home run hitting plays?
You know what? I got to give it up to Riley Moss. Congratulations to the young man. I'm pretty sure this was an interception that was long overdue. I mean, this entire secondary, aside from that very first drive, I don't know who is the player that gave up that Brock Bowers pass, but after this game, I'm kind of like, I'm willing to cut him some slack because I think he did try to make a play on that play, but I think he jumped up before Brock Bowers did. Something happened because he was on the ground after Bowers did, and then he ran for the ball. So obviously not every drive is going to be perfection.
Huge credit. I mean, that you pointed that out. That first drive with the huge Brock Bowers play, I want to say that was PJ Locke on him. Like, we didn't have great coverage in a middle set. We were just squaring up. And obviously that wasn't going to work. And at that point in time, the pivot started, and Vance Joseph went to what we were talking about pregame of that, let's go put PS2 on Brock Bowers. Even though he's a tight end and he's going for the middle of the field, both of PS2's 2 interceptions came when he was covering Brock Bowers. So it's not a coincidence that Brock Bowers burns us one time, and Vance was like, all right, I'm all done here. Like, go kill him, killer. And he did. PS2 stepped up to the front, and it's a nice reflection to know that PS2 can do that. Like, we can put him on a bigger bodied tight end, and he performs extremely well.
Yeah. I do notice D-Rock saying, or was it D-Rock? I'm sorry. About D-Rock, who was talking about Troy Franklin. That pass definitely should have been a touchdown. This should have been a 4 touchdown game for Bo Nix. 3 passing, 1 rushing. Now there's going to be a lot of talk in Broncos country about what the frustration was between Bo Nix and Sean Payton after that play. And there's going to be so many theories. Nobody really knows, unless you're somebody who can read lips, or there's a hot mic that gets leaked somewhere sometime. But what I will say about that is that it's great to see a quarterback that has some fire to him. You know, over the last 2 years, we've dealt with Russell Wilson, and when the head coaches got in his face, he kind of just sat there and didn't say a damn thing, whether he was wrong or not. So I'm pretty sure it was Bo Nix being upset that, you know, Troy Franklin didn't catch the pass. If I had to, and this is just a guess, and maybe it was Sean Payton. I don't know, to be honest with you guys. But whatever it was, it's great to see that the connection is starting to form. And this was going to be my topic going into this post-game show, guys. If this would have been another, hey, Will Lutz went out there and he kicked every single point for Denver and it was another 0 touchdown game, I was going to come on here and say, hey, Sean Payton, it's, you know, now starting to get a little bit worrisome.
To Daniel Miller's point right there. And thank you, Daniel, for joining us. But yeah, he was worried about the first half play calling from Sean Payton, exactly to your point, Adon. And it was kind of scary. It was kind of, you know, conservative, still not pushing the ball. And I mean, really at that, even if we look at box score right now, I mean, Bo really only had, 206 for passing yards. It wasn't like it was like a crazy offensive explosion or something like that. Our defense certainly put us in position to, you know, get the points we did, even from a field position standpoint. I don't know, man. But yeah, you're right to have doubt about Sean Payton still. But I love that fire, that confrontation you're talking about. We hadn't seen that yet. We hadn't seen that out of Bo.
Like, I get it. I know Sean Payton wants to protect his quarterback and, you know, keep it the interception ratio low. But at the same time, being a quarterback, throwing as a quarterback, I should say, is a double-edged sword. You have to take the gamble that the pass you're making is going to be a catch and a touchdown, or that it's going to be a fumble. And I know for the first 2 games against Seattle and Pittsburgh, it was looking a little bit worrisome. It kind of looked like Bo Nix was just throwing the ball just to throw it. And you guys have heard me say it many times on Broncos Talk, where it was a far cry or a picture from what we saw in the preseason.
Sure.
But now we're starting to see this game was pretty much what we saw Bo Nix do in the preseason. You know, he played a clean game. He kept the sacks down. It wasn't as much as before. I mean, it's Max Crosby, so that was to be expected. But he didn't fumble the ball. Yeah, he didn't fumble the ball, and he put the entire Raiders D-line, especially Max Crosby, who was talking smack to Bo Nix, and he went and hung 34 on him. So after that, I'm pretty sure Max is going to be having to share some crow with the rest of the Raiders teammates today.
Absolutely. And, you know, I want to see my quarterback like that. If you recall, Sean Payton absolutely blowing up at Russell Wilson last year, and
Mhm.
Russell just stood there and took it. I don't want that. I don't want that in the leader of your team, the guy with the C at the most important position of your 53. I mean, Raiderman 83, 81 comes in here and says, I'm drunk and pissed. You guys should have kept Wilson. I bet you would have liked that because Wilson would have gave up probably 6 sacks today if Russell Wilson was playing. But yeah, I just Russell Wilson was not the answer. He knew he wasn't the answer, and Bo Nix looks like a fiery guy that's going to, you know, put forth a little bit of backlash on the Sean Payton craziness of
Yeah.
his way or the highway.
And to bounce off of that, Jay, if you guys saw the Minnesota and Jets game today, Aaron Rodgers and Nathaniel Hackett wasn't the answer either. So even if the Broncos would have gotten Aaron Rodgers in that that whole scenario that went down before the 2022 draft, it wasn't going to work out. I mean, look how the Jets offense was today, and it was hideous. And that's exactly what it was exactly what we had in Denver. And I always say this to a lot of people, and I've said it many times on my show. While we do have a lot of crow to eat with Russell Wilson over his tenure here as a Bronco, I would much rather that deal with what we deal with Russell Wilson than to deal with the zaniness and everything wrong with the whole Aaron Rodgers circus and everything that the Jets. So I'm pretty sure the Jets front office and their fans at that are not going to be a couple of happy campers going forward this season.
No, definitely not. We got Denver Gator coming in here as well. Broncos win. Raiders streak is over in a dominant fashion. Go Broncos. Love that.
Yes,
love that icon there too for the YouTube pick. That's pretty awesome. Denver Gator in the house. Let's see here. He also goes on to say, love our defense. Both starting to click. And he's getting better every week. And I would say it's not even necessarily a performance thing that he's getting better every week. I think it is more of a comfortability of being able to, like what we saw today, talk back to Sean and command leadership and to really take ownership of audibles and have a little more autonomy at the line. I saw a tweet, I can't remember who it was, but they were taking a stab because Sean Payton during that confrontation just kept pointing to his play call sheet of that Bo audibled out of a run play that Sean called, and Sean was furious that he did that because Sean Payton wants to have control of everything. But Bo was like, this is my offense. I saw what I wanted to, saw what I needed, and I did what I thought was right. And you got to give your quarterback the autonomy to do those kind of things. So that's the kind of progression and development that I've seen in a week-over-week basis. It's not necessarily numbers. It's not, the box score doesn't show that, but if you watch him and his demeanor, you can absolutely tell that he's growing.
Definitely. I wholeheartedly agree. I mean, today was my biggest concern going into this game if the Broncos lost was losing in those uniforms, because you guys know today in Broncos country, they were paying homage to the 1977 Denver Broncos. They unveiled two new statues outside the stadium. I can't wait to go see them myself in a few weeks. But the really important thing is the fact that they were able to hold up and not fold, especially to a division rival, because if the Broncos would have lost today, it would have really, really impacted not just their momentum, but spirits and all that good stuff. So it's a really good momentum shift for the Broncos going forward, and for the leadership boards as well. I think the Broncos they should be in second place, if I'm not mistaken, since the Chargers are not playing this weekend. They have a win over the Raiders.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think they've only played one divisional game as well. No, they played the Chiefs as well, didn't they?
Yeah, and the Raiders and the Chargers played each other week 1.
That's right.
Where the first loss came from. But just to kind of piggyback off what Mundunga said, guys, I am just so done with Greg Dulcich. I didn't even know he was on that he was inactive today until I read the report before the game. Like, I am just so done with him. Like, I'm sorry.
Well, I don't know. I have mixed feelings on this. So, like, Troy Franklin with his drop, everyone freaked out about that, understandably. But we have seen Troy Franklin more and more and more involved in this offense. We're giving him shots. And I feel like there's, just like Bo, there's going to be rookie mistakes. There's going to be hiccups in the progression of him getting used to being an NFL wide receiver. And, like, you got to roll with the punches with these rookies. That's the makeup of our team. That's why this year is not the year. This is the year to get those kind of things out of the way as a learning experience. So, like, as much as it sucks, wouldn't you want that to happen in a game like this that's already over than a pivotal game next year that is a one-score game that, like, that could be the make or break play of the game? I mean, to me, small potatoes. I'm not that upset about that drop from Troy Franklin. At the end of the day, we gave him the shot and he was wide open. So I don't know. Like, I feel like that's a positive thing. I don't know. What do you think about the wide receiver core in general?
Well, I don't know. I think it's somebody on Twitter that said that I'm really sorry but I remember seeing it before I logged off where they said that Vele makes that catch. The Devon Vele.
Yeah. Oh, yes.
Mike, he does the
top 10 list.
The top 10
the
list.
ranking list. Yes.
Shout out to him, by the way. And he pretty much said Devon makes that catch without a question all day, every day. And he was also inactive for another game. So I do hope that Devon comes back because I really liked his training camp video he put out. And unfortunately, his injury is really limiting his time playing as a Bronco. But I can agree with your statement there, Jay. I really do. I know Troy. And that's just the Bronco in us. You know, we want these guys to succeed. We want this offense to go, and especially against division rivals, those are the ones that count the most. So you want to make sure that those W's get secured because at the end of the game, those are the ones that win or lose are really gonna they're gonna make you feel good or they're gonna hurt you as a fan, you know.
And to be devil's advocate, I would much rather roll with the punches with a rookie making those mistakes than to continue to trot Josh Reynolds' ass out there when he continues to drop the ball as a veteran. That was the whole point of why he was here, to be a sure-handed, possessional wide receiver. It's not like he's a burner. He's a big-bodied wide receiver. So if you can't catch the ball, what good are you? At least Troy Franklin presents some sort of mismatch from a speed perspective. And I guess that's the same thing I'd say about the whole Vele comment too, of like, well, yeah, Vele probably would have caught that, but would Vele had the speed to get to the spot to be able to catch it the way Troy Franklin did? Maybe not. Maybe so. That's the kind of thing that you have to think about, I think, in just the skill set that each player brings to the offense. And that's why I was pounding the table early in the year of like, man, why can't we just at least take some shots with Franklin and Mims? I know they're probably not cerebral. They can't break off terrific routes, but like, is it rocket science to just say, hey, run as fast as you can in a straight line down the field? It's really not complicated. Give him a shot. Even if you see things like Troy Franklin did this time, but at least that's on the tape. People now know like, oh, wow, that guy's a threat. He might not catch the ball, but he might catch it again, the next time. Like he at least was wide open. So I don't know. There's positives to come from both sides, I guess. I can see both points of view of that, but I don't know. Let's see here. Couple more comments. A lot of comments on the great Riley Moss. We got D-Rock in here. The White Power Ranger showed up and showed out. Pretty terrific. And Denver Gator back in with we witnessed a white corner get an interception. It's almost a unicorn status. The Traders toss Moss a ball. I mean, Moss got the fruit of his labor today, which is a big deal because he's been burned a couple times and he's also taken some penalties. A lot of holdings and such. So I'm glad that he finally, some of his risk got rewarded, but I don't know. How did you see that play? Do you think that's something to continue to build on, or are we seeing the best out of Riley Moss right now?
Well, for one, I was a little bit more proud than I gave myself credit for, just for the fact that, Riley Moss was one of my concerns going into the season. You guys have heard me say that I was worried about who the Broncos would line up opposite PS2. And I'm pretty sure I wasn't the only person with that concern going forward. Now, the depth behind PS2 and Riley Moss is it does kind of concern me. I know we saw DTY or DYT out there uh when on the Raiders second scoring drive, and I still don't know how the hell he's on this team. It's still beyond me. I don't think PS2 went out there that entire drive, if I'm not mistaken, because Jacoby Myers was just a little bit too open. And I don't know if maybe he went to the bathroom or something, or if or Vance Joseph just decided not to play his starters that drive. I don't know. They were already up in lead anyway. But I think that for him was really big, because it's going to help build his confidence up going forward. Because as we said earlier in the show, the schedule for the Broncos, I would say after the Panthers game, with the exception for the Saints game coming up, that's going to be a really tough matchup in the Metrodome against
Thursday night game, I believe, too.
Yeah, against Sean Payne's old team. That's going to be a really hard matchup. Then you have a pretty soft one against Carolina, regardless of who's at quarterback. And then you play the Ravens after that. So the Broncos defense is really going to have to, I don't want to say put this team on their shoulders, because they've already done that, and we don't really want to rely on that going forward. Now they did make up for, like we said, the Brock Bowers touchdown opening drive by playing a really stellar game. And the Broncos offense pretty much did not, aside from the fourth quarter where it was like conservative play from Bo Nix, where they just kept running the ball, which, by the way, shout out to McLaughlin and Javonte Williams. They played a really good running game today. McLaughlin with that really beautiful touchdown, and Javonte just getting yards where yards were needed. Also, Lil Jordan Humphrey, I swear to you, the man out-juked, what was it, almost four Raiders, and he was almost in the end zone if that safety didn't get to him in time. But it's the small things like these that, when an opposing teams takes you for granted, like you guys heard me say, Max Crosby talking smack to Bo Nix. If I remember correctly, he yelled at Bo Nix, just hurry up and play, or tell your offensive line what the play is, because they don't know it. He said something like that. It was really stupid. But with the fluidity that's going on, the offensive line starting to get used to, playing with Bo Nix and the audibles and the plays. It's starting to come to fruition. And did you guys know that every single offensive player today caught a pass? Everybody did, from the fullbacks to the wide receivers to the active tight ends, the running backs. It was amazing. The ball was spread out so much that it kept the Raiders defense guessing. So that's what you want to do for going forward, is you want to keep the opposing defense guessing, and you want to make them think that if they think they know what's coming up, you surprise them with something, and then you put points on the board.
Yeah, I mean, to your point, we did definitely spread the ball quite a bit from an offensive standpoint, as far as targets and as far as, what we tried to do schematically. I will say, running back wise, Javonte definitely is getting his boom back, but he is still not a burner. There are instances where I would have, it just sucks, because I just want a middle to McLaughlin and Pookie. Because there's instances where you see the cutback lane. I was like, oh my God, if that was Jaleel McLaughlin, he would have been gone. Mm-hmm. But, on the flip side, Jaleel makes a cut, and there's just one person, and he's never going to break a tackle. So they're a great thunder and lightning, as they say. Another observation I'd have to the running game was some of the zone blocking and zone running attacks that we did with the large cutback lanes. I really liked, and I don't know why we don't do it more often. Mm-hmm. That seems to be a big strength of some of our offensive linemen. I remember Ben Powers, when he first came in, the book on him was that he was a very good running guard, run blocking, but, struggled in the pass. And then Quinn Myers is just a beast that can do it all. So I'd just like to see a little more of the zone running attack, because I think that pays dividends, especially as much as we do the toss, that side toss to running backs. You don't see a lot of NFL teams do that nowadays because, in a sense, you're kind of starting 2 yards behind the line of scrimmage when you do that. But it either works or you're caught behind the line of scrimmage. All or nothing kind of play. So, but it was good. Running back room looks good. They look like they're progressing. It'll be interesting to see how it changes or if it changes when Audric Estime comes back. So I don't know. Couple other comments here. Raiderman81 comes back and says, we went away from Bowers and that was part of the downfall. The reason you went away from Bowers is because we put PS2 on him.
Pretty much.
Ask all of the previous teams that we have played, their top wide receiver is a no-show. It's not even that PS2 has incredible plays. It's that you don't even try to throw his way. And you just made the sorry mistake of Brock Bowers was your only weapon now. And so you need to force him the ball. And you cannot do that versus PS2. And everybody found out what happens when you start throwing PS2's way in volume, the way the Raiders tried to today. That's kind of putting the league on notice. I guarantee that PS2 pick 6 will be top 10 Sports Center tonight.
Definitely.
That's the top NFL player of the week. So pretty nuts. He also comes back and says, we'll give you Adams for a 1 and a 2. Me personally, I don't want Adams. I think Adams is past his prime. He might be a good type of wide receiver for some teams in a possessional type, but he is on the back half of his career, much like Julio Jones was. We would have, blew our minds if Julio Jones would have been traded from the Falcons, but as soon as he did, and that's what happens to those big-bodied wide receivers that don't have speed. He's a great red zone threat, but I'm not giving up a 1 or a 2 for him. Heck no. But I don't know. He also brings up, and he said in a previous comment too, that on that pick 6, Minshew was held. That was a straight pancake, my man. Jonah Ellis was all over his ass. I don't know about the hold because there was no turn. There was zero turn to that. He had him and just drove him straight down. And I think that's why they picked the flag up, because there was no jerk. It's not like Minshew held his arm out to try and tackle. He just went straight down. So same thing goes on the line. If you're going straight down on a pancake, they're not going to pull a holding. It's when you see a turn or a change of direction that sticks out. So, what do you think, Adon, was the pass rushing? How did you see pass rushing? We saw some Cooper, we saw some Benito, we saw quite a bit of pressure, like I said, from the 4-man front, but just overall observations of the pass rush today.
I think that it was really impressive after the second drive. I mean, the fact that the Broncos were able to generate pressure with just 4 and cause it to be uncomfortable for Gardner Minshew and Aiden O'Connell was just amazing. Now, granted, they didn't always get to the quarterback, but when you're generating a 4-man pressure, it becomes a little bit tougher. Vance Joseph, going into this game, had the second most sack defense in the league. So, but that was mostly because they were relying on the blitz, and a 5-man versus a 5-man, there was somebody that was going to get beat. I do want to say that unsportsmanlike conduct on John Franklin Myers, you have to be better than that. That was totally unnecessary. It was. But
I'll pay the man's fine.
I mean, but it was incredible. The fact that Vance Joseph was able, as you said earlier in the show, was able to shift from, if you guys are going to throw it to Bowers, we're going to cover Bowers. Who's your next guy up? And the Raiders didn't have an answer for that. And the fact that the Broncos defense made the Raiders change their quarterback in the third quarter was just went to show you how much dysfunction was going on with the Raiders, because they had no idea what they were doing. I'm pretty sure that the Raiders head coach was doing it as kind of like a punishment to Gardner Minshew, But I don't buy that because you went out and got Gardner Minshew during free agency. There were a lot of other quarterbacks you could have went and gotten, especially if you didn't get the one you wanted in the draft. You could have traded up in the draft with somebody to get one of the quarterbacks that you wanted, knowing that they weren't going to fall in your lap in the, what was it, the 13th or 14th spot where they were. So he had plenty of chances. So Gardner Minshew, he went and he got him from the Colts after the Colts didn't obviously want him. And now he's got to eat crow. And again, we're going to mention it for like the fourth time, Jay. They have a really hard decision trying to see who's going to start against the Steelers next week. And I do not envy that man for one moment, because neither one of those two guys, as we saw today, are like a leg better than the other.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's pretty even in that regard. As this old saying goes, if you have two of them, you don't have one of them. So, but you know what? At the end of the day, that's their stinking problem. Good luck to you. We got our guy in Bo, and I know Bo hasn't looked, extremely polished in some instances. I do like that he still is all good, getting on his horse and running. There was a couple instances where he got some good, escapability from the pocket and went and just got what he could get. And I really appreciate a quarterback that can at least keep a defense honest. And he's a quarterback that can do that. So I hope that is a trait that we don't lose as he gets older and as he, develops his skill set. I hope that's just kind of a mainstay for him, because I really appreciate that. And we've talked about this before of like, do you want to see more running? Do you want to see less running out of Bo? I mean, it seems like the more we get going and get the tempo up and he gets his adrenaline up, the better he plays. So maybe he's a quarterback that just needs to get hit, needs to get on the track and get some run in to kind of like get the juices flowing. I mean, I'm all good with that. But the injury concern is obviously a big deal in that. Also want to throw out Bronco Rob, who was on the pregame show. He says, "Let's Guckabig go, boys," and I agree. All those explicit words, I'm right there with you, man. So I want to transition here real quick. Want to talk about maybe some game balls, kind of the highlights that we have for this game. So let's get on, throw some balls out, Adon.
Let's do it.
After it. All right. So we got Who's Got the Ball segment here, in which we throw out some game balls. And on a glorious Raiders game that we just absolutely beat the pants off them, I don't know about you, but I got at least 3 game balls. So I'd like to have 3 each if we can. Doesn't matter position, doesn't matter side of the ball, just in a general 3-ball sense. Adon, if you've got one ready to go, you go ahead, sir. The floor is yours.
Thank you. Before we get to my first game ball, I just want to say the boss, Johnny Baki, couldn't be here today because he was actually at the game with Isaiah. So shout out to them. But the transitions that you guys see on this show, everything that you guys see on the show, Johnny spends a lot of time doing, and it's just phenomenal. Like every time I come out here, whether I'm on the post game show with you guys or doing Broncos talk or whatever, just seeing it and just knowing that it came from the mind of Johnny Baki was just freaking crazy. But so shout out to him. Thank you so much for doing everything you do. I just thought it just needed a form of commendation, because I don't feel we credit that man enough. I swear.
No, you're very right. You're not wrong. And I wish I had like an opposite button.
Damn it, Johnny!
Like just it's opposite day. Just we'll play that.
He'll feel better once he sees this.
Yeah, dude, I'm sure he's having the time of his life. I told Bronco Rob pregame, I was like, over under 8 beers that they're already deep. And that was like, probably an hour before, 45 minutes before kickoff. So I'm sure they're feeling themselves, as I was last week at the Jets game with Ty Y, the fantasy guy, as you will be in 3 weeks when you go to the stadium. Man, when you get the opportunity to go to a game and experience, fanfare. Man, it's totally different than watching it at home.
Undoubtedly.
Undescribable.
But my first game ball is going to go to Zach Allen. I just feel that even though his name wasn't called that much, that man continues to be the anchor of that front D line. And even though, like I said, we did not hear his name mentioned a lot, he was able to get the pressure in. He was able to get some knockbacks in, and he was able to register a sack in the Raiders' very last drive. So the fact that that man continues to huff and puff every single drive is just continues to amaze me.
Yeah.
I am really so glad. Like, I was worried when he came in because the Broncos did not sign Draymond Jones, if for those of you that still remember who he is. So we always thought that those were big shoes to fill, and was Denver making a mistake letting Draymond go to Seattle and signing this guy Zach Allen, who came from a Vance Joseph defense at that. So even in his first year, he was kind of like so, but he progressed and he's gotten better. He's made his teammates around him better. So my first game ball goes to him because he continues to be the anchor and the strong force on that 4-man.
Yeah, man. I mean, he's the mini JJ Watt. JJ Watt ended his career in Arizona. He took Zach Allen under his tutelage, taught him how to do the position, and you can totally see the progression that he has made in his career. He is a phenomenal player, not only in pass rush situations, but in rush defense as well. He's just all over. He's a ball hawk. He's swarming everywhere. So that's a really good pick. And I'm glad we're going with the obscure ones right out of the gate here, and I'm going to keep on that. We got the obvious ones that I'm sure that we'll say, but this one's going out to a player that we've taken for granted, I guess, being on the roster as long as he has, and that is Justin Sternot.
Ooh.
Justin Sternot coming in replacement to Alex Singleton. And when we all heard Alex Singleton was going to be down, we thought, oh crap, the green dot is gone. The tackling machine is gone. We're going to be in huge trouble. And I mean, no offense to Alex Singleton, but like, we haven't missed a beat. And Justin Sternot today led our team in solo tackles, or tied, I guess, our team in solo tackles. But he's been all over. He's played phenomenal in the couple of games that he has started. And he's been on our team for what seems like forever. And he's never really gotten an opportunity other than special teams. And he has flourished with this opportunity. And I can't give him enough credit for what he's done to just come in and plug and play. And our defense continuing to perform, not missing a beat. So Justin Sternad for me, big contributor. So he definitely gets my first game ball.
He was on my list, man. He was on my list, and it's like you read it, bro.
Yeah.
Damn you, Jay.
I know. Well, hey, great minds think alike.
You're killing me, Smalls.
Pretty much. My second game ball is gonna go to Wattenberg, the center, because I felt that he was able.
Wow.
I almost didn't give it to him because he did have the one play where he thought it was a under the center snap, and instead it was a shotgun, and the ball was fumbled. So, but he pretty much made up for that. There were a couple of key blocks he got in one of those rushing touchdowns, if I'm not mistaken, or not rush. Yeah, the one where Bo Nix just dove over. He dove over Chris Wattenberg, and he literally got sandwiched by like 1,000 pounds of human flesh. So I was a little concerned when he got back, make sure he got back up, because he did have a bit of a wobble. So I hope he's okay going into next week's game. But he was the anchor on the opposite side in terms of trying to get those running lanes open. He kept the aside from the sacks, I don't think the sacks came from his side. They came from the left and side tackles from wherever Max Crosby was lining up from. So the right and left tackles did have their hands full today, especially Garrett Bowles. But I think that Wattenberg, is I'll admit I'll eat a little bit of crow on him because I myself wasn't exactly all happy when Cushenberry left for the Titans. I thought that center was going to be the weakness of this offensive line, and so far
And it
he's held
still
up.
is. I mean, out of everyone, I'd say center is still, the weakness of the entire line, but he has played, I think, better than expectation, to your point. Very
Yeah.
much so.
Thank you.
Yeah, I mean that's a good one too. I'm kind of honestly I'm a little surprised just because they made fun of him so hard on that snap of like, "Hey guy, is this your first day? Like if you don't feel hands on your butt, then you probably shouldn't snap it that way."
Right, yeah.
Um
I heard that too.
like,
And they were right. It's hard
they
to
are
argue with them.
totally right.
They were right, Jay. It's like,
They are totally right.
I don't know.
It'll be interesting to see if he continues on because I feel like he hasn't played so well that if Alex Forsythe comes in, say, next week and plays the whole game and we continue to play very well and are fine, that he like automatically gets his job back. I think it's
Mhm.
kind of one of those situations where, if you get hurt for multiple weeks, you might lose your job, bud. Like it just kind of is what it is because that's kind of how it was going into this season. We
Mhm.
spoke about in preseason that like, well, hey, Alex Forsythe, he's a Oregon Duck. He's already had Bo Nix's hands up as you know what for multiple years in college. So like he's got the relationship already established. So Wanberg needs to watch out. Although he's played well. Let's see here. Bronco Rob, he goes with Game Bald Pat Sertan and Riley Moss. Let's go. And Raider Man 81 has been in chat. He has shown up intel with quite a bit of comments, questions, and concerns, understandably. Ray Hass as well in the chat. Good evening. Let's effing go.
Yes, sir.
Dude, what a fantastic Orange Crush profile pick. Perfect day to have that. Orange Crush went hard.
Mhm.
And then Joe Brewer coming in. Raider Man, if you tank, you might have a chance at Cam Ward. Boy, I don't know, Joe Brewer. Sorry to break to you, but I think Shadur is going to be that first quarterback off the board.
Yeah.
But we'll see. We'll see. All right. So my next game ball, I gotta pick like, do I pick the easy one or like do I pick? I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna give a game ball to Javonte Williams. Um, I've been a huge Javonte critic this year. I honestly didn't even want him to make the team. I wanted to see if we could get some trade value for him. He's on his last year of his rookie deal. He's coming off of injuries. He just hasn't been himself. And I would say the last 2 weeks, because last week he looked like he was on his way to being himself. And
Mhm.
this week, he seemed to really have that boom back, driving and pushing a pile. And funny enough, he actually led our team in receiving yards this week as well, which is crazy, especially for him, the type of running back that he is. But that
Mhm.
just, I guess says to the undervalued skill set that he has. And he is a very well rounded running back. He might not be elusive like Jaleel McLaughlin, but he's great in pass pro. He's great catching screens. He obviously can push a pile. He does a lot of things for a running back skill set that we don't have in another player. So Javonte with 61 rushing yards, 4.7 average carry, which that's not too shabby with 13 carries, 4.7, almost 5 a carry. We'll take
Mhm.
that all day long.
Yes, sir.
Um, and he had 6 targets, led the team in targets as well. Not only, receiving yards, because he broke a good one off, a 26 yarder, but he led the team in targets. So, maybe that's more of a, discussion about play calling of Sean Payton than anything.
Mhm.
Not necessarily a good thing, but Javonte Williams definitely performed very well today in my estimation, and I give him a game ball for that. So, Don, what are you thinking for next there, sir?
Well, I think my last one's going to be a pretty obvious one. And without this man, we probably wouldn't have put up 34 points. So, well, I should say -7 because one did come from PS2. So, got to give it to Bo Nix, man. I'm pretty sure he's probably getting a game ball right now as we speak in the locker room. But he played a really fantastic second half. I know a lot of us were wondering, just for the simple fact that going into the half, if it wasn't for an unsportsmanlike called on the Raiders, it would have been a 10-10 game going into the half. But even so, with that going forward, one rushing touchdown, two passing, or was it two? Yeah, it was two passing touchdowns. Should have been three, but
should have been three. Troy Franklin.
Yeah. But so far, the comfortability we're seeing in him, the game I saw him play was the exact same game I saw today play in Caleb Williams. Now, they were playing the Panthers, but in that first half, Caleb Williams looked like he was back in college. And that's exactly what I saw in Nix in that second half, like he was back in college. Like the fluidity was there, the scrambling was there, and when he made a mistake, he made sure not to make that mistake going either in the next play or in the following drive. So that's really great to see. And I'm really, really, really counting on the fact that being around the home environment helped. But now there's starting to be a little bit more pressure on him because now there's a 3-game winning streak. And we've been in this situation before, Jay, last year when the Broncos went all the way to a 5-game. The more the Broncos win, while we are happy to see it, the more that the pressure starts to come on this team. It's going to be on the offense. It's going to be on coaching. It's going to be on defense. And as much as we'd like to go win every single game, unfortunately, that bubble is going to pop one day. And when it does, it's going to be really interesting to see who the finger of blame falls on. But for the moment, Bo Nix went out there, surprised a lot of people that weren't Bo Nix believers, and hopefully shut the haters up because Bo Nix is here to stay and play.
Not only did he shut the haters up, he shut Sean Payton up.
Yeah.
Because Sean Payton let him go. During that confrontation that he started barking back at him, you'll notice he went right to, oh my gosh, our quarterback's coach, Webb. Went to Webb instead of Bo Nix. So it's almost like, all right, Sean Payton knows he's wrong. And so Sean Payton is going to like go explain himself to somebody else instead of Bo Nix, who is hot. So like, good for Bo Nix, man. Legends Week. We had all of the, Hall of Fame jackets at the stadium.
Yes, sir.
And the most important position on the team showed out with 3 total touchdowns. That's a great game ball. He needs a game ball for that. He's showing up in different leadership forms week after week and growing at that. So hats off to Bo Nix for today. Jair coming in. I thought Bo Nix's best performance. I thought this was his best performance. And he set like 3 franchise records today. Eat a bag of Nix, Raiders. That is the hashtag of the day. So I love that right there. That's pretty great. And yeah. Dude, he played phenomenal. And if we could just continue at that pace, man, just imagine what he's going to be like, by week 17. So really like that. Bronco Rob comes in saying Troy gets the bronze foot up his ass trophy for that huge drop. But again, other than that drop, Troy Franklin had a pretty good game. Didn't have major mistakes. He got that catch at the end of, or the very last play of the second or the first half to set ourselves up for that field goal. They got us the extra 3 points right before halftime. Yep. So he did a lot of good things. He really did. All right. Well, you kind of set me up with Bo Nix being your last ball for my last ball. And it's got to be to the man, the myth, the legend, Mr. Patrick Surtain II.
Oh, my God.
Dude, the legend steps up in legendary games. And, man, he's going to go down. And I dare say this, but if he stays in Denver his whole career, he's going to surpass Champ Bailey as the best defensive player in Broncos history. And I truly think, to myself at least, and maybe people can argue, maybe Von Miller or, Randy Gradishaw or maybe somebody else on the defensive side of the ball, but like, I think personally Champ Bailey is our best defender we've ever had at this franchise. And I think Patrick Surtain II is on track to be the best to ever play for the Denver Broncos on the defensive side, because he shows up, man. There's a reason why people don't throw his way. And like I said earlier in the show, today is the evidence to support no offensive coordinator should be pushing volume to his side of the field ever. I don't care what number one wide receiver you have. It does not matter. You don't throw to the man. He absolutely changed this game. The pick six absolutely changed the trajectory of this entire game. And honestly, for the season, because if we go down and we lose this game in the fashion that it was looking like against the Raiders, who, again, going into this game, we should destroy this team on paper. The vibes would be so low. The doubt in Bo and Sean Payton in just what we're doing moving forward would be so low. So in so many ways, Patrick Surtain resurrected the expectation of this season and put us on a path to like, well, all right, we just stole a game today that we probably should have lost, just like that. And man, you can only ask for that for your best player to do that every once in a while. And he did it today, and he did it in the swaggiest of swaggy uniform with the amazing audience, including our founders at the game. Man, the vibes couldn't have been higher at that moment. So, as I said before, Sports Center top 10 play right there.
Number
if
one.
not top 5, if not top 3. So, let's see here. Last thing, I just, I failed to do this in the beginning. I feel like I need to now. Please, for everyone out there, please like, share, and subscribe. We are the Orange and Blue Network. This is the, Buck Your Feelings post-game show, but we have the, pregame show. We have the Neighborhood on MHRT Network, which we are in partnership with now. So please go over to their network, like, share, and subscribe all of their content. They have a boatload of terrific offerings and shows, as well as, obviously, Broncos Talk on Wednesday nights with, your man over here, Adon Diaz, every Wednesday night. And then we've got the flagship of at least this network, the Nothing Rhymes with Orange and Blue on Tuesday nights. So we've got so many different offerings for you. We are fanalists. We are fan-led. So please, we really appreciate the feedback, the comments, just to kind of play back and forth. And like you've seen in the pregame and postgame, we welcome all fandoms, whether you're a Raider fan, Chief fan, Charger fan, or any fan of the NFL. We welcome all comments because we're equal opportunity here, and we like razzing everybody. Shit talking is equal for all. So. Adon, you got a pretty bow to put on the top of this game. Any final thoughts?
I feel like Jerry Springer. God rest his soul. This was a much needed win in Broncos country. Not just because they're a divisional rival and we hate the Raiders, but this was a statement win. The offense showed up. The defense came back and showed that, okay, they got caught off guard. It was like a boxing match. They underestimated their opponent. They got hit in the jaw, and they came back and they showed the Raiders that they were not going to be caught by surprise again.
Yeah.
Bo Nix showed that he can be a contender in this division with Mahomie, with whoever the hell the Raiders start next week, and with an injured Justin Herbert. So I would say that this offense has put the AFC West on notice. So going forward, any more mistakes or games that the Raiders, the Chargers, or the Chiefs lose, the Broncos are definitely going to be there to take advantage of, get the win, and make a contention to take back this division from Kansas City. It started against the Raiders today. It started at home today, and it's going to continue going. 3 games winning in. This defense looks incredible, and they're showing up the stadiums to chew bubble gum and kick some ass. And ladies and gentlemen, this team is all out of bubble gum.
Yo, man, I know Minnesota got 3 picks off of Ron today, but they were the number 1 defense. We were like number 2 or number 3 defense, and we got 3 picks. This defense, I cannot wait to see against Mahomes and the Kansas City, New York, headquartered NFL. All the calls go their way type of team. I can't wait to see the pressure on for Mahomes. This defense is special. And this is another, flag in the ground kind of game to show you how special this defense can be. It is not the no-fly zone of 2015, but we're getting there. We keep piling these kind of wins in that the defense basically won us the game, and that's kind of how the vibes of 2015 were, and it resulted in a Super Bowl. Defense wins championships. This is a recipe for if we can get in the wild card, just get a playoff spot, this defense can carry us when it comes to the cold weather games and down the line here. So we have a lot to be happy and look forward to. And at the end of the day, this was the 2nd longest streak in the NFL for a opponent win streak with 8 games. We were 0-8 against the Raiders. And that monkey is now off our back. We no longer have this. It was December 29th. I wrote this down of the exact date, December 29th of 2019. And it's no longer. And there are no more, obstacles in our way of just, thinking that we can't beat a certain team. So it was a huge victory, psychologically, physically, everything. There was just a lot of positives to glean from this game. So super happy of the result, obviously. And I cannot wait to see where this team takes us for the rest of the season here. So we've got a lot of hope, guys. We've got hope in the Mile High City. And we just need to keep on keeping on with it. So that's my final thoughts. So with that, I'm Jay Weaver, Dream Weaver. This is Adon Diaz, 6'10" Mexican. This has been the Buck Your Feelings podcast. Thank you so much for joining us. And again, like, share, and subscribe. We appreciate you all. Have a fantastic night. And let the immaculate vibes continue on through the week. Let's boom.